Chapter 3. Abby. I rose up and up from dark, watery sleep, my heart beating a million miles a minute. The light was bright. I tried hard to focus my eyes, to see all the familiar things in my room, my rock and feather collection on top of my bookcase, my story maps pinned to the wall, my old guitar, the trophies, ribbons Tim and I had won the last 2 years, and Tim's warm body pressed next to mine. Tim! Right there on the edge of my brain. I had a dream. Something bad had happened to him. I couldn't quite grab it and remember, but I had to. I tried to sit up. Oh, I cried. A warm hand pushed me back. Lie still, Abby, Mama's voice. So slowly she came into focus. Her arm was in bright blue sling, the other arm bandaged in layers of white gauze. One side of her face was swollen and bruised. The scariest part, though, was the look in her eyes. Where am I asked, trying to sit up again. You're in the hospital, Abby. We were in a bad accident, don't you remember? She smoothed the hair back from my forehead like she'd done a million times before when I'd been sick or sad. Daddy's on his way, Mama said. He should be here any time. She talked faster and faster. As soon as the doctor said you can leave, we're going home. And not on the parkway this time. I knew that was a bad idea. I don't know what I was thinking. Tim, I said, cutting her off. Panic turned my inside to eyes. Where's Tim? She sighed and looked away. Mama? Her eyes filled with tears. A fist grabbed my heart and squeezed hard. One thing about Mama is that she never cries. Not when her favorite Alma died this past spring. Not when she cut her fingers open slicing apples for the pie I wanted. Not when Daddy gone off for weeks and weeks with his friend. She pulled up a chair and sat down. She made little folds over and over my blanket. When we swerved off the road and went through the guardrail, Tim's crate was thrown from the back of the truck. I squeezed my eyes shut. Little flashes were coming back to me. The first place medal Tim and I won in the agility trial. The winding road high up on the Virginia end of the Blue Ridge Parkway. A sudden flash of brown. The truck going every which way. Then, blackness. Tears trickled down my eyes. Is he dead? I whispered, hardly able to get the words out. No answer. I opened my eyes. Mama? I don't know, Abby. What do you mean you don't know? Mama looked at me with her gray eyes, the same eyes as mine. I say, I don't know because his crate was thrown from the truck and he was in it. Didn't you look for him? She walked to the window. Abby, we were in a very bad accident. We were both out for I don't know how long. When I came to, there was blood everywhere. You weren't responding. She turned her back to me. In a voice I could hardly make out, she said, I didn't know but Tim. She turned around, cut me off. My first priority was you, Abby. To be honest, I didn't even think about Tim. I had to get help as fast as possible. You could still be out there, I cried. He could be hurt. I told the police about Tim, Mama said. They promised to send a couple of officers and animal control to look for him. And had they looked, I asked? Mama grew still. They hadn't found him yet, but they promised they'll keep looking. I couldn't breathe. Every crack and crevice in my brain worked to put all the pieces together. Just then, the door swung open. Daddy's wide shoulder filled the doorway. His wild hair flying around him. Worry pulled his eyebrows together when he saw Mama. But when he saw me, his face went white. In 2 long strides, he crossed the room and gathered me carefully in his arms. For the first time, I let myself cry. Oh, Daddy, I sobbed in his shirt. I've lost him. I grabbed on my father's hand. We got to go back up there, Daddy, and look for him. He could be hurt bad. He looked at Mama, eyebrows raised. Mama shook her head. Abby, you not only have a concussion, but your ankle's got a big crack in it. The doctor's not going to release you today. I feel fine, I said, pushing the covers off. Tim's probably right there where we crashed, waiting for us in that crate. Mama and Daddy exchanged another one of those looks. Daddy said, Peanuts. It may be it been a whole day since the accidents. How could that be? Then we had to get up there. He's looking for me. I can feel it. We can't, Abby, Mama said. The doctor says I have to be in Asheville day after tomorrow to meet with a specialist about my shoulder at the hospital there. I was trapped, but I had to get to Tim. Mama turned to Daddy. Could you drive up there, Ian, and take a look around? I can give you directions. No, I said. I have to go too. I swung my legs over the edge of the bed. The pain about made me throw up. Mama clamped her good hand on my shoulder. Hard. Her face was gray. Be still, Abby. First things I know, let's talk to your doctor and see when he thinks you can be released. As soon as he says you can go, we'll head back up to the parkway and look for Tim. But I started to protest. Daddy placed a finger on my lip. Hush now, honey. Who knows? Maybe someone's found him already. He had ID tags on his collar, and he's microchipped, my mother added. Besides, he was in the crate, Daddy said. He's not going anywhere soon. They both smiled, but their eyes said they didn't really believe what they were saying. Chapter 4. Sunlight burned off the Chapter 4, Tim. Sunlight burned off the mist hovering over the creek. By the time it reached the bed Tim had made under a fallen birch, the forest had been awake for a long time. Squirrels and chipmunks busily gathered acorn to store against the winter months ahead. Red fox lying there burrowed with leaves, and geese passed overhead, pointing the way south. Life in the Appalachian mountains in late October was in a race against time. Tim knows nothing of the ice and snow just weeks away. As he tried to raise from the damp earth, all he knew was how much his bruised, cold body hurt and how hungry he was. With a groan, Tim limped down to the creek and drank, careful not to get his feet wet. He lifted his head, nose reading the damp air crisscrossed with sands. Any other time, Tim would have followed his nose through the streams of sands like a fish hooked on a line. But Tim was hurt, and hurt dogs know only one thing to do: be still. Tim took one last drink, then limped back to his shelter. He lowered himself to the ground with a whimper. He didn't stir when the large gray squirrels ran back and forth across the fallen tree. He slipped as the two white-tailed deer slipped down to drink from the creek. And as the moon rose over the ridge and a great horned owl hunted for the farm meadow, Tim dreamed of hot gravy and chunks of beef set before him next to the wood stove and his home with his girl. Okay, I'm going to stop here because I already read 2 chapters. Again, if you want to read more, if you want to hear more of the story, then just find a black screen, and then you'll read chapter 5 and chapter 6. Bye.